Welcome to Inside Your Schools, a local podcast from, for, and within the San Luis Coastal Unified School District. Join us for a deep dive into things like innovation, artificial intelligence, empowering student voice, career technical education, school facilities, youth athletics, summer programs, and so much more. So tune in each month and learn more about how San Luis Coastal Unified School District is impacting students, staff, families, and community. Right here on Inside Your Schools. Well, welcome again to Inside Your Schools, the San Luis Coastal Unified School District's monthly podcast. I'm your host, Terry Caney, and this is podcast number 3. And this month, we're going to tackle the topic that is, I'm sure, on everyone's mind. It's artificial intelligence. AI and its implications is taking the country by storm, and schools are certainly no different, as schools and districts are trying to basically just figure out AI's place and the benefits and the pitfalls and all of that. So, and we're here to talk about all of those things today. And to address the issue today, we have 3 guests with us, and I'm going to let the 3 of you introduce yourselves. What is your role with the school district, and essentially kind of your connection to this topic? So Christine Robertson, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so thanks, Terry, for having us today. So I'm Christine Robertson. I am the executive director of the San Luis Coastal Education Foundation. We're an independent 501c3, but we are partnered with the school district to make investments in innovation and equity.
Excellent. Terrific. Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Yamashita, the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services for San Luis Coastal Unified School District, and I am excited to get to talk with everyone a little bit more about AI and its implications in our schools and workplaces of the future.
Terrific, terrific. And Jeremy, you're on the more on the technology side, right?
Yeah, so I'm Jeremy Kalish. I'm the IT director at San Luis Coastal Unified School District, and my role really is to look at AI from a different approach, make sure that we set up the safeguards, make sure that we look for any potential pitfalls that kids may encounter.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for being here. This is going to be a fun conversation. And, I think our goal is to just try and take a little bit deeper dive. My experience with AI is basically ChatGPT, but I know when you think about artificial intelligence, it goes well beyond that, and it certainly started way before that. Things like self-driving cars, et cetera. Even our phones, to some extent, have artificial intelligence built into them. So, Christine, let's start with you, and let's kind of set the stage, talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. We know that it's beginning to impact virtually every industry we know of. But what exactly is AI, and how does it affect our daily lives?
That's a big question. So AI has been around since computers. I mean, it's been around for, well over 60, 70 years now. And what we're seeing today is just a new, much more sophisticated version of AI. And so, most people would be familiar with what were known as these logic-based models that were very human-driven. And over the years, AI has evolved to be more sophisticated algorithms. And those algorithms now are what we're seeing in ChatGPT, known as large language models. We see what are called neural networks. These are much more complex systems that are going out and aggregating massive amounts of information from across the information ecosystem and using information to learn about information. And so the algorithms are analyzing and producing content based on the large body of content. But over time, these algorithms are becoming less human directed and are learning and having more of that artificial intelligence that we think of in how they are working through the information sets and then presenting that content to the public. And so ways that we're seeing artificial intelligence just across our day-to-day lives and across kind of the global landscape, we see it showing up broadly in industry. And I would say For the past, 20 years or so, AI has been getting a foothold across industries, but maybe has been less visible to the general public because it hasn't been more of a consumer application like what we've seen with ChatGPT. But in industry, we've been seeing real significant innovations in agriculture as different technologies are putting sensors across fields, and we see drones that are doing aerial surveillance and taking measurements and helping make recommendations on crop yields, water conservation, and helping reduce pesticides. And so that's a specialized application that may not be visible to the average person. Same thing in healthcare. I think most people are becoming more familiar with these wearable devices that can be remotely monitoring patients' vitals and then relaying that information in real time to healthcare providers, and allowing those healthcare providers to, look for anomalies that may be cause for concern. And now some of the emerging technologies are a little bit more predictive, that they're, looking at data sets and helping anticipate and make diagnoses. And, there's some real potential in that because the computers maybe don't have some of the human biases that we've seen be particularly problematic in the healthcare field. And so the ability to make diagnoses or make recommendations is becoming increasingly sophisticated. And so in the healthcare setting, there's great potential for how AI could reshape that field. And then, of course, one that we're growing more familiar with is how AI is reshaping the transportation sector. We've seen Tesla and the self-driving cars and all of the sensors and cameras that are analyzing real-time data and then directing the machine to take certain actions in response to that data. And a lot of the forecasts are that we're going to see long-haul trucking be the first major application of that AI in transportation. So, I think we're seeing AI showing up across the landscape. There's incredible potential, but, there's a lot of uncertainty because as these algorithms are learning from information, I think there's just increasingly less understanding of maybe what's happening behind the technology. And I think that's where, from an education perspective, we have both a challenge and an opportunity to think really deeply about how to prepare today's kids for that future world that's going to be saturated in this technology.
Yeah, no, and when we think about that, right, we're preparing kids not for our world, but for the world that awaits them. So why, in a sense, does this even matter for kids right now? I mean, given the complex nature of AI, why wouldn't schools just, as we sometimes tend to do, just tend to block it and try to keep it out of our schools and away from kids?
Well, maybe I'll take a quick stab at that and then hand it off to Lisa,
Sure.
who thinks very deeply about what this looks like in the schools. So again, from a long-range perspective, which is where the foundation is really focused, is, anticipating and trying to think about how do we respond to this rapidly changing world. There's been a lot of work done globally looking at, technology and economic forecasts and trying to understand how technology is reshaping and impacting the world of work and society. And so we've seen some reports come from like the World Economic Forum that's forecast that technology will displace 75 million jobs globally and then create 133 million new jobs. And so those new jobs that are going to be created are going to be jobs that incorporate and utilize AI. And so the skill sets that future employees need are going to be more technical skills. So preparing kids to understand how to harness and direct these technologies is going to be a critical skill set to their economic future. And, similarly, the McKinsey Global Institute has projected that, in the next decade, about 30% of U.S. workplace activities could be automated. And that's a trend driven by these AI advancements that we're seeing. So as kids move through our school system and anticipate moving out into the world of work, we want to make sure that they're ready to be successful with these technologies.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. That really helps set the stage because, and Lisa, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the implications in the classroom, but Christine, you talk about the importance of preparing kids for the world that awaits them. A friend of mine who is arguably the most intelligent person I know, just recently applied for a job in with ChatGPT. Actually, he equated it to getting into Harvard. That's how difficult it was to actually land a job as an engineer within that particular industry. So we understand a little bit about how it's kind of taking over industries and why kids need to be prepared for that. But Lisa, talk a little bit about what it actually looks like in the classroom. I think the normal person would think, let's keep this away from kids, right? Because we want kids to be critical, independent thinkers. We don't want them to rely too heavily on technology. But we're starting to see that this has a place, right?
Right. And I want to go back to that idea that it is a quickly evolving specialized technology that surrounds all of us, both in the classroom and in our lives. And one of the most important things for the little people that we get the opportunity to educate is we need to explicitly explain to them that there's not a magic little person living in that cell phone that's telling you where to drive, because without a detailed explanation that there's something called artificial intelligence and the computer systems figure out how to get to the place we're going, right? There's all this misinformation and misunderstanding out there. And so the first thing is just to build awareness with younger people that this is a thing and this is how it can work. And there are people behind this thing and businesses behind this thing. So we need to, right now, we're already working on digital citizenship and media literacy skills with our students across the K-12 span. And what we're doing is we're folding in and adding learning opportunities about artificial intelligence and all the great things it does and changes it's bringing about for our new opportunities, but also the problems it can pose. We want to empower our students with the knowledge that they will need to successfully navigate the work of their future, as well as their professional and personal lives. So one way it can look in the classroom is the direct instruction media lessons. And another thing we're trying to address in our classrooms is what is plagiarism in today when a computer can do the assignment. So if the question that we are asking as educators can be answered by the artificial intelligence, it begs the question, is that the right question we want to be asking? So we need to rethink how we assess and shift to more performative types of assignments and assessments that do require creativity and critical thinking that the artificial intelligence can't so easily be used to just turn out work. Schools shouldn't be, in its best version, schools are not just task-oriented places in the industrial model where children churn out worksheet after worksheet that the computer or calculator can do for you. But instead, we want them to be solving novel problems and debating and doing higher order thinking.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and we certainly have gone beyond the classroom model of the sage on the stage, right? Where the teacher basically imparts knowledge and the student then takes it in and regurgitates it. This, I think, is a classic kind of, example of how that has completely come full circle. So talk a little bit about sort of that. I think what remains is that the most important relationship that exists is that relationship between teacher and student. So talk a little bit about the role of the educator in the classroom and sort of what their impact is.
Well, I think, again, AI can help with teacher efficiencies, and it can enhance good lesson planning and add new creative ideas, but you still need a teacher to define the pace, to see the gaps and holes students need, to develop the relationship and motivation, because a computer or AI just assigning problems won't necessarily create a positive learning opportunity or outcome for students. So those are some of the ways that teachers inherently still need to be part of the teaching and learning process, is building those relationships, creating motivations, seeing gaps and holes that a bot or AI just can't do.
Well, and I'm sure it's starting to sort of turn the teaching profession on its ear as well, right? I mean, to go from that stage on the stage to essentially you are the facilitator of the learning. it challenges educators in a lot of ways to say, you don't have to have all of the answers, right? You just have to facilitate the learning so that kids can basically think critically for themselves, understand the kinds of information that they're taking in, and then be able to digest that in a way that, benefits them, right? So thank you. That really helps me. So as you can tell, I like to just sort of process things out loud. So thanks for indulging me. I appreciate it. So Jeremy, tell me a little bit about kind of your role in the school district, and from the technology side. I'm sure that this has impacts from perspective of policies and procedures and protocols and things like that. So I'm sure that you and your department have had to grapple with this as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, AI is blowing up everywhere. I think we're in that stage with AI and its adoption that everybody's thrown it into everything and they're not quite sure where it fits. So we're seeing AI put into stuff where, like, I don't know if that really makes sense anymore. And what's really cool is you have those people that are super excited, and teachers included and students that are super excited about AI. And then you also have the leaders and laggers, right? So then you have those that are like, I'm never going to adopt AI for the sake of it, right? I just barely got an email address. So with that being said, we have to really look at AI under the cover, and what Christine said is that, AI is going out and it's collecting this huge amount of data, right? And the challenge that we have is we don't know where that data is coming from that it's going to present to students and staff. And I'm going to use a good example. We did a board study session about AI, and we had ChatGPT unlocked for staff to use. But one of the data sets that it pulled was flagged by our web filter as mature content. So we within the IT department at the school district have to provide a safe learning environment for all students, right? And so that means we have to protect them against violent or explicit content. And so as AI is rolling out, we need to analyze and really dig deep into the terms of service and evaluate the products and services that we want to implement with our students and staff to make sure that it's appropriate for the ages in which they are being utilized. And a lot of us just really want to jump on and go, okay, let's get Google Bard, for example, up and running. Let's try this out. But if you take a step back and you read the really boring legalese that I apparently love reading, it says that you have to be 18 years old or over to use it. And a lot of that is they don't really truly know where their data sets are coming from. And so that's the easy way to say, well, we don't care. You're an adult, use it. And so we have to be really careful, especially at this really quick adoption where everybody's putting AI into it, that we take a step and we really evaluate to make sure it is truly safe for our students and really safe for our staff as well to be utilizing within a classroom environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think we've learned a lot from social media platforms, right? Mm-hmm. And the way in which we try to balance sort of that social responsibility aspect that we can't necessarily count on them to do, right? So in a lot of ways, I think this balance that we're trying to reach has to fall on us as educators. So I don't know if you guys want to just kind of round out that conversation real quick, just to talk a little bit about, has this been, how tough has this been to manage for you as a school district?
Well, right now, since certain websites are unlocked for our teaching staff, and they are adults, and we want to encourage them to explore and learn. And if there are materials that are appropriate to share with the class, they can project it up on the board, but they're the ones that are controlling the direction. They can project their computer screen in there and control. And we currently are not allowing anyone on our network devices for our students to go out and use content unless it is specifically made for the K-12 kind of sphere is one of the things we're doing. We are trying to leave the door open for how AI can be used creatively. So, for example, we had one of our teaching staff create AI-generated images as a staff member, and then they shared and printed them and shared them on paper copies to students in a creative writing class and English class. And then the students wrote their own stories about these AI-created generated things. So we're trying to find new and novel ways for staff to use it with students and talk about it with students without kind of unleashing students to reach potential places that aren't appropriate for them to go.
Right.
We're also collaborating as best we can with university partners. So Christine and a group of educators had an opportunity to go to a Cal Poly forum to learn more about it and hear what's happening in our broader educational community. We also anticipate seeking feedback from stakeholder groups such as community members, parents, teaching staff as we develop. We have no official board policies as they haven't been recommended yet by any of our official organizations. But we are looking towards doing that with groups of stakeholder input.
Got it. And from an age appropriate standpoint, is it primarily in the high school level right now?
As far as I know, it's primarily at the high school level right now.
Got it. Okay. Well, my goodness, we are already at 20 minutes. Can you believe that? That was a lot of fun. Christina, I want to give you an opportunity to just promote the Education Foundation because I know how valuable a partner the foundation is with the school district. So why don't you take a moment just to talk just very briefly about the foundation and how people can gain more information.
Oh, I appreciate that. We have such a privilege to be working in partnership with the San Luis Coastal Unified School District. I mean, even just in this topic of AI, what we've been able to observe and participate in, as an entity that's both inside and, independently a little outside of the district is having this perspective on how proactive this school district is. And this conversation about AI is not one that caught this school district off guard or flat-footed, but this is a district that has been very much on the leading edge of thinking through what this could mean. Again, proactively and not reactively. These are complicated, fast-moving topics, but I just want to make sure that I close out my comments with really authentic high praise for the district. It's been impressive to see how they've managed such a complicated topic in a way that is both highly protective of kids, but also making sure that we're setting kids up for long-range success. And so there's a sophistication there that I have to applaud. And so, the Education Foundation, as I said at the outset, we are really focused on how do we set kids up for long-range success and bring the community into that conversation as thought partners and investors. That there are certain things that we as a community would love to see as opportunities for kids in our school. And many of those things are just practically outside the bounds of what a public school district can afford to do. But we don't want our students to miss out on those opportunities. And we also want to make sure that we're bringing those opportunities to kids in a truly equitable way and that we're breaking down barriers to opportunity for kids. And many people don't know. In San Luis Coastal, nearly 40% of the kids across our community are socioeconomically disadvantaged. So there's a huge opportunity to lift up kids and make sure that they leave our system prepared, supported, to step out and be future leaders and really help us build the community that we want 30, 40, 50 years from now. So that's the work of the foundation, and we do that, again, in very close partnership with the school district. And so, we would love for people to get involved and to learn more. Our website is www.slcef.org, slcef.org.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think just based on our conversation today, so oftentimes people who, particularly those who don't have, kids that are school aged, or their children may have been out of the system for quite a number of years. This is something that, people sometimes sort of judge us by what they read in the newspaper or what they see in the headlines or what they see on television. Having the opportunity to talk to the three of you, I think, is truly gives some perspective into the just the thoughtfulness that goes into conversations like this, decisions like this one, that, every step you make has a tremendous impact on kids. So I just appreciate kind of the thoughtful approach that you've all taken with this. And I appreciate you all being here to help us with a deeper dive into this topic. So thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Great. And also, I just wanted to briefly thank the San Luis Obispo County Office of Education, everyone working behind the scenes, turning the dials and pushing the buttons. Thank you all for all that you do. And certainly Mandy Dawson for helping us to get everything scheduled and set up so wonderfully. And thank you all for joining us on yet another episode of Inside Your Schools. We'll see you next time.